This raises some serious questions for the Montreal Canadiens as Jayden Struble gets officially signed to a 2-year extension. There's a lot of talk about how the Habs 7 defensemen will shape up this season, with questions coming about Arber, Xhekaj, David Reinbacher, even guys like Adam Engstrom. But more than that, even Lane Hutson's extension as being the next top priority contract to get done, because Struble was almost headed to arbitration. We got to dive into Struble's contract, what it means, and how it could implicate Lane Hutson's future as well, as they've been one of our best D pairings since they've been paired together. But we also have some more talk about Mason McTavish, as multiple websites are talking about Montreal being linked to the Anaheim Star, and we have a lot more great stuff, including some LJ Mooney stuff. Awesome stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, Monday live stream. We got a ton of fans in here already. We got Joseph, we got Jack, we got Buchwiefius, the Poirier's in here, Steve, Bishboy Steve as well. Oh boy, I got myself there. Great group of people here. I'm excited to get into it, Jesse, on Jayden Struble signing day.
Absolutely. So nice to get him locked up and, of course, be here with the community, right? It's so nice not only to go through the news, but, to have that interaction. Of course, we're here for the questions. And, of course, just some amazing hype with the prospects is, again, the gift that just keeps on giving, that good drafting that Montreal Canadiens have done. Of course, they're just laying up. They're doing some very exciting stuff right now. As we know, hockey never sleeps. So, really excited to get into all of it here today.
Oh, you never expect something to break at the end of July either. And we're seeing these prospects at the development camp. We have Otto Koivu there, not talking about today. So stay tuned this week. That's going to be a bit of fun. We got LJ Mooney there. We got a bunch of other guys. Hi, Tim. Hi, Joseph. And I saw Joseph say earlier, oh, Simon was in here too. Finally alive, I can catch Simon. Great to see you. Awesome to have everyone in here. And you know what? You know what we should start with here? We should start with our boy LJ Mooney, Little John, because you know what? He's become a fan favorite so fast. And you can see here, this is from Daily Faceoff, but it's the Sweden under 20 versus USA under 20. And yeah, really interesting. LJ Mooney starting there on the top line for Team USA alongside Trevor Connolly up there as well, who is a pretty highly regarded prospect. But it's really interesting. There's some players kind of all over the place here. We know Otto Koivu was playing first trio as well. It's not a guarantee that these guys are going to be first trio, whatever. But regardless, Jesse, LJ Mooney put on a bit of a show. Look at this assist. First of all, almost a no-look perfect pass across the ice. And watch this snipe. It gets stuck in the corner. LJ Mooney putting on a clinic versus Sweden already. And for a guy that has been so underestimated, I think, for a lot of his career so far, even him saying, I hear the doubters all the time. That's all I heard last year was being too small. I don't think it matters at all. I'm just looking to prove people wrong. And hey, the Habs, Jesse, we know a lot about that. I'm loving everything I'm seeing from LJ Mooney. Every time he steps on the ice, I feel like we have a highlight on our hands.
For sure. And we're seeing so much news from him recently, Josh. I am crossing my fingers that he makes the team here for Team USA going into the World Juniors. This guy is just such a special young player. So really incredible to see what he's doing right now. And obviously the way that he's starting off, it's starting off well. It's looking really well. He can make a way and again, prove the doubters wrong. This is what he's having to do. Even with Team USA, right? He knows that even though the size that he says doesn't matter for him at all, that's unreal confidence where he's just saying size, let's just exit it out of the equation. What's are we saying? What I'm going to do on the ice, it just completely speaks for himself. And again, so early on, great to see him in that top line. We know nothing's kind of set in stone yet, but if he keeps playing this way, that's exactly where we're going to look to find him coming here around Christmas time coming up. So again, yeah, such an amazing shot, right? It's just amazing. Again, so kind of typical from him, from what his personality, right? Where you're just hanging it up there in the post. And the common thing, Josh, we're seeing from all these highlights, I'm sure you're noticing it too. Look how the defense is completely focusing on him every time he has the puck. And that's what's allowing him to set up some other players, kind of a la Nick Suzuki, where everybody's fixing on the shot and then he's kind of opting for the pass there. So he's just showing a little bit of everything. He's showing the playmaking, but obviously the sniping ability. We know that the size is there. Just kidding. We know that the skating is there, and this, obviously the stick handling to go along with it. So just amazing to see. He's talking some smack. Let's be real here with Little John, but he's backing it up right now. And that's what really matters.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the chat is in love with LJ Mooney as well. We got Muffin Mouse in the house as well. We got Tim Meunier saying, I'm so stoked for the season. LJ Mooney is a beast. I'm surprised about Struble. Hudson will get his payday. Ooh, we're going to get to that for sure. I think he's going to be a beast. LJ emoji needed. Yeah, maybe we need to, right? Hi, Tony. We love your show, guys. Thank you so much, Tony. But yeah, everyone here in chat. And Xhekaj, Jesse, said exactly what you said. This LJ Mooney pass, doesn't this just feel like a Suzuki pass? Not just exploiting the defense for focusing on him, but the way he Suzuki fired it across. This feels like Suzuki to Caufield. Yeah, he's firing it over to a left-hand shot, so maybe not exactly, but like, there are shades of a lot of different players here. And again, like, the size is a limiting factor, or should I say it can be a limiting factor, and we'll have to see what he can do. Again, at this level of competition, it's really hard to project how he will adapt to, college next year, and then eventually when he makes that jump to the pros, because a lot of the time that can be a bit unpredictable, right? A guy like Sean Farrell dominated for so long at 5'9", until like Laval, he started struggling, but now he's starting to find his footing. Will he have an NHL future? Maybe. Remember, he played a handful of games for us, but yeah, really, really interested in LJ Mooney, and I think a lot of fans are below, but Jesse, I'm actually excited to talk about Atos tomorrow too, and a lot of our other Habs guys. I feel like we're just getting so much respect now. I feel like everyone's talking about our Habs prospects, whether LJ Mooney or otherwise. It's kind of fun, even though a lot of our best ones are already like lining up to make the NHL.
And sometimes like seeing is believing, because like with LJ Mooney, we say like, oh, he's small and he can't do it, right? But like, look at even just from like Americans, like other young, small players that succeeded and really left their mark in the NHL. New age, like Johnny Gaudreau, you have to feel somebody that LJ Mooney's looked a lot at. Cole Caufield. Now you have Lane Hutson. Like, again, LJ Mooney, especially with the USA in particular, some smaller players that are just completely shining. Canada maybe has a monopoly. We're doing a shout out to Theo Fleury back in the day. We know that size isn't always what really matters there. But again, like, what gives me a little bit of hope, like, it's a fair comparison with Sean Farrell. Absolutely winning the Hobey Baker, highly touted. Even here on the channel, we were excited about him. We're kind of tempering some expectations again because of the size. But like with LJ Mooney, it's a little bit different when he's bringing like that compete and that play, because that's something like that competitiveness isn't something like you can't get that out of LJ Mooney if you try at this point that his career. Like, that's just so ingrained into him, and I think that that's something that Martin St. Louis, like, he can coach on other parts of the game, but first off, he just wants you like engage in all three areas of the ice. And we can work on some details and some positioning and leverage techniques, kind of like Hudson, to make you effective at your size. Again, another great guy that can help work with the size being a little bit of a disadvantage here. So you just have to feel like, LJ Mooney, again, it's that kind of that X factor. Like, he has the skill, but again, when you see that compete, that's always the biggest thing, I think, for that kind of like, for being able to make that translation to the NHL. And I think that that's something that he just has in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to see how we can, evolve with that. And I see someone here saying, hey, maybe you could grow a few inches. Says wrong. Hey, I mean, the Lane Hutson, going to the bone zone there, he grew a little bit. You never really know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to grow at this point, but hey, if he does, great. If he doesn't, we've seen people who are his size make the league. So really excited about him. But Jesse, let's move on. We do have to talk about Lane Hutson and Jayden Struble, but I think, someone maybe we could talk about a bit first is a trade candidate. And I want to say again, hi, look at all the people in the chat. So many amazing things here. Like Dach, discourse surrounding the Habs has never been this positive following a first round exit. I completely agree. And Tim's saying people talk about small players. Look at our coach. They said he wouldn't make it. He's too small. He's a Hall of Famer. I've watched San Luis since college. He played in my hometown, UVM. Like, this is the thing, Jesse. Like, before we move on to McTavish just briefly, because I wanted to bring up a couple articles that had him again, doesn't it feel great to just be so positive about this team? Not just like, oh, the future looks good, we'll see. It's like, no, we know the team is good, and it looks even better. Like, again, not just Mooney, but even these trade talks, right? All of a sudden we go 2C time, and now it's like everything is just like sunshine and rainbows for now. Like, and it feels like it's never going to stop.
Well, exactly. And just, it's been so well played, just the entire framework. It's like, we haven't even seen like how good the Habs are going to be yet. Like, that's the whole beauty of this. Like, we've just seen the tip of the iceberg so far. Again, like, I really do feel like Demidov is great. Not to disrespect on any of our current players, but I just believe Demidov, like, at his prime, will just be head and shoulders above the competition, which is really just going to be all the difference maker. Again, like, of all that good framework, and we got these great players, but sometimes you just need like that superstar to kind of take you over the edge. And that's what just makes me so excited about like a guy like Hudson, where it's kind of like found money when you're kind of destined for glory, when you start finding players like that out of the woodwork, besides all the amazing prospects and drafting, obviously, that we've done to get here. So I think that that's what is just so exciting, because we got to see a little bit of last year, but that's nothing in comparison to what we're going to see next year. Mm-hmm. And then you have to feel like the year after that's going to be so much better as Demidov improves, this young decor as well continues to get better as well. It's just going to make a huge difference going forward, kind of a couple, pieces away. But again, that framework and that foundation is really in place. And again, it's just, such a pleasure just to cover a team that's really just been so, thoughtful and also methodical in their approach. And obviously we're already starting to see the fruit of it. But again, like, that's just the beginning. And that's what's exciting about all of this.
Yeah, and like we can look towards everything in the future. We don't know what the ceiling is, and I think that's the fun thing. Some teams, they see their ceiling, they see what it is. It's just about whether they can get there. I still don't even know how high it goes. So yeah, it's just awesome to talk about it. And you know what? Hitting that ceiling, it's going to be a bit easier if we can land that 2C, right? Or land at least another young player, young star level player. And that's where we come back to Mason McTavish here. I mean, this comes from Heavy.com, where they proposed a certain trade for McTavish. It was not a trade that really made sense, so we're not going to dive into it. But look, you can see this again. Canadiens add second line center and unique trade pitch, but this is not the only place that's talking about Mason McTavish. If we go to the fourth periods list of the summer trade board here, Mason McTavish is number 14 on the summer trade board. Why? Even Jeff Merrick recently has said he's the most available that he's ever been. Now, does that mean he's readily available? Not necessarily. Like, it's not like the Ducks are actively looking to send him out, but there's a lot of teams calling, and they can see with the veteran additions the Ducks have made, some question how McTavish will be deployed this coming season under Joel Quenneville. There are teams curious about his future in Anaheim. You ask Ducks fans, they're probably going to say, like, if you get him, it's going to cost a ton. But that's what we heard about Noah Dobson, too. And you can see Montreal is one of the teams here reportedly linked. With all this coming out recently about McTavish, Jesse, I know we keep talking about this, right? Nothing has actually moved on this front recently, but, like, where there's smoke, there's fire. And we've often said that, including when I've messed it up multiple times on this channel. Like, I feel like just him being on the trade board, Montreal being one of these teams reportedly linked, mock trades coming out from Anaheim sources, from Montreal sources, from general NHL pages talking about McTavish to Montreal. Yeah, he's linked to other teams are talking to him, but like, doesn't it just feel like if this move could ever be done, it would be Montreal? It almost feels too perfect with everything going on. Like, I feel like if I see McTavish is traded, I'd almost be surprised if it wasn't Montreal at this point.
Absolutely, because this is Kent Hughes' number one option. You have to feel that. And the reason that maybe this 2C situation is taking a little bit longer is because he's waiting to see how this shakes out. Like, this is his first option, and he doesn't want to potentially make another move until he knows that a Mason McTavish deal can't happen at all to the Canadiens, because I don't think Kent Hughes is wrong and maybe feeling like, why is this situation taking a little bit long? Like, we wouldn't do this in Montreal. If we got young players, we like to get well ahead of the game, getting them signed up to deals that they feel comfortable with going forward. But there's kind of a situation that is taking a little bit longer. There's the additions of Granlund as well as Kreider. I don't want to say there's maybe issues like with the head coach in there, but there has been some talk in the past, maybe some possible shade thrown at McTavish where he said like, oh, he's kind of more of like a third line type of guy. And I don't know if that's maybe what's creating just a little bit of bad blood. We know with Pat Verbeek, that can always be a little bit of an interesting person to negotiate as well here. So again, like, Kent Hughes is going to keep looking until, he feels like this situation is completely at rest, because again, like, this is his number one option on Habs Digest. Our fans, we voted who's like, ideally, that kind of makes sense. Who would you be going for? That's their number one option. So I feel like this situation, like whether he signs, moves elsewhere, we'll probably see Kent take a move kind of in turn very shortly there afterwards. But I feel like he's gunning for this one. Of course, we're not going to see him overpay, but I think with the prospects and some of the valuable players that we have, that probably because of just the amazing evolution of the team aren't the best spots. We're going to get into that a little bit more on the defensive core. Like, Josh, I feel like we have like something of value really to offer in terms of active players, in terms of picks, and then prospects. And I'm okay. I don't know about you. I don't know about our fans. I'd love to hear, like, I'm okay with a combination of all three of those to get Mason McTavish.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what they're asking for, of course, but like, I am always open to some kind of combo like that. And again, with just the amount of like pure skill we've added to this team, like we know are NHL level players, it's like, again, we talk about how often that affects our prospect pool. Now, can we just ship off like a bunch of our second tier prospects for their like top young guy? Maybe not, but like, you never really know. Again, if there's something behind the scenes going on, it could make it very possible. And that's why, like, I'm down for it too. Like, this is the kind of move, Jesse, we've been talking about. Like, we thought when we heard, yeah, we might trade for Noah Dobson. All right, this is the trade where we give up a lot. Yeah, it turns out it was Heineman and 2 firsts. Like, yeah, we dipped into it, but not as much as I thought. Got Zach Bolduc. Yeah, we traded Logan Mailloux, who's a fantastic prospect. but, still didn't dip into it. We still have so much left. So it's really interesting, especially seeing how much those guys went for, how much he could cost. But want to thank Simon Desjardins for re-upping his membership to 11 months. Simon been around for so long, such a huge supporter of the channel. Thank you, Simon. It's always great to chat with you in our group chat as well. McTavish and Crosby are wet dreams for sure. Well, you know what? Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. It absolutely is true. They're like these kind of guys. Like, can you imagine getting Sidney Crosby on a discount after this year? I mean, who knows, right? But McTavish too. I mean, thank you, Simon. But like, yeah, absolutely, Jesse. I mean, Crosby, McTavish, different ends of the age spectrum, different ends of like how long their contracts would be, but both I think would provide a similar level of impact, whether short-term or long-term, to Montreal. And again, like, the craziest thing is, like, this is not just us, maybe it's some hopium, but a lot of it is like genuinely, yeah, I mean, we can offer them that, and now we are truly a destination. Just look at what was going on at Nick Suzuki's wedding. I mean, everyone seemed to be having an absolutely amazing time. So like, we are here, and we're fighting for every single name in the NHL, Jesse, and I think they want to play for us.
It would be such a tremendous fit, and I would feel comfortable if, like, we were to add Mason McTavish. Then at that point, I would feel comfortable saying, like, the rebuild is over. And for sure, that's a whole new set of expectations. Like, and now this is a team knowing, like, they have to make the playoffs next year. I think Kent is okay with that. He's okay with the implications of, like, adding a player to this team and what that would really mean. But again, having that 1-2 punch just down the center for years to go, a player, with McTavish, who I feel is kind of like a playoff type of guy as well. I think it's somebody that you want to win with. That being said, like, the Ducks, they do still, need a little bit more offense. They added a couple guys in, as we mentioned earlier in the offseason, but they still need a player like this. For me, that's just why it's like just so interesting why he's taking so long to get signed. Josh, more than anything else, it's just kind of a reminder of why I'm so appreciative of the culture of the Habs, and as a result, like, what amazing fans we have, just because this situation wouldn't really, I just don't see it going down into the dog days of summer like this and leaving one of your stars is kind of like, we don't, in limbo, not quite knowing what's going on. It just doesn't feel like it has that best effect on the rest of the team. It just really goes to show, again, a young team coming up, a lot of great prospects. Here's what Montreal is still doing right. And here's what some other teams like the Ducks are potentially doing, in my opinion, just the optics of the situation. For me, that gives me even greater hope in the future of what the Montreal Canadiens are building, and that it's truly special.
Yeah, and again, like, we see all these guys, like, not only from a management perspective, but how much these guys care for each other, right? We saw the stuff from Suzuki's wedding. I'll just keep bringing up this picture of Line, because it's just so fantastic. It's absolutely, hold on, we can move it around too. Look, there we go. There he is. But yeah, Patrick Line doing that. And even the guys were here in St. John's yesterday, a bunch of them. Alex Newhook, Jayden Struble, Arber, Xhekaj, Michael Pezzetta, Jakob Dobish, I think was here. I didn't see him.
I think I saw you on that boat, Josh.
Was I on that boat? Sure I was hiding. Yeah, they asked me not to be in the picture. They were like, it's just them. Right. But no, a few of the sailors down there in Kitty Vitty. But I'm down in Kitty Vitty all the time. I should have gone to see them, but I didn't know they were here until a bit too late. That would have been pretty cool. But yeah, unbelievable stuff. And hey, Joseph Donovan says, let's go smash that like for Jesse and Josh. Thank you so much, Joseph. Really, really appreciate that. Hey, why not? We got 200 people in here. Let's try and get those likes up. We love to hit 100 likes. That's what we love. Henry Wong, YYT. Henry, longtime viewer, always shouting out the YYT. St. John's, baby. That's right. I just drove out to the airport today. I had to drop someone off. But there you go. Oh, good old YYT. But you know what, Jesse? This is the big part of the stream here. We're looking towards the future, and we did lock someone up in Jayden Struble, and we will get to that in a bit. But again, there's a lot of serious questions that are now raised with Montreal. We talk about how much these guys really like each other. They're doing stuff for each other, how management is doing great. And there's just one guy that just keeps coming to the forefront of everyone's minds, and that's Lane Hutson. Because especially now that the Lane train, I mean, we know how good he is, and we know how much money he could get. There's a lot of projections here. Like, you can see Scotiastat has him at 8 years, about 11 million. I think that sounds about right. But now with, like, the Noah Dobson at 9.5, Struble's contract coming in at less than we expected, with all these other guys making maybe a little less than we expected. Excuse me, like, Lane Hutson is the next big piece of business to get done. Either that or a 2C trade, but it's hard to say which is going to come first, because Hutson could extend this offseason and just be like, yeah, why not? Like, let's just get it done. Get it out of the way, just like some people do. Or he could say, look, I was a Norris caliber defenseman last year. Let me prove it again this year and get a bigger paycheck. Jesse, do you see the Jayden Struble contract having much of an effect on Hutson? I don't necessarily think it does, but I just want to remind people again how good they were together. I think we'll revisit this in a bit, but like, Hudson Strube, by far, not even close, by far the best expected goals percentage of any Habs D pairing this year. Like, When I say not close, not close. There was one other pairing above 50%, and that was Guhle Carey at 50.6. Hudson Strube, 60.7. Hudson's other partners, Matheson and Guhle, not nearly there. So anyway, when we talk about Lane Hutson, I don't think Strube is going to have a stranglehold on Hudson's contract because he's just so good. But you got to think, Jesse, something's coming with this, and I just wonder how high Montreal's going to end up going.
Yeah, definitely. No disrespect to Struble. It might be a little more factoring that he tied the record for most assists by a defenseman rookie in the NHLC.
Probably.
The Calder win, that's probably factored. Like, all this just leads to, like, Lane Hutson getting paid. So in my, like, if you're, in the Habs brass right now, like, you want to be in Hughes' ear, like, sign this guy up as soon as possible. Hopefully sub 10 and as long as possible really here going forward. Again, given the ages here, I wouldn't be surprised if he was trying to get a little bit more than Dobson, given where he projects. That being said, is like, I think just that younger age, there's very much a world where we can get him around that 9.5 mark here going forward. Again, it's like, he's really a guy for me that I really see coming into his own. And, like Dolan, it's like Dobson rather, I see like that 9.5 million really make a lot of sense. I just hope we don't go into the Dolan as type numbers at 11 million, really going forward here at this point. But no, I just think doing like, seeing how he's played on the ice, he definitely want to lock this guy up as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that was 13% of the cap when he signed it. And look, I do think Dahlin is like, on any given, I think if he wasn't in Buffalo, people would see him as a better player than, they do now. But like, still, it's like, that 11.5% of the cap, like, that would be closer to 12 million. If we're talking Dahlin percentage, we're talking near 13, which I think you're right. Like, I don't want to get to that cap percentage as much as Lane Hutson might have that kind of impact. And again, like, it's not just that. I think too, it's not just the assist numbers that run in Lane Hutson's favor. And I know I mentioned Struble here, but Struble has a very specific style of play, right? And so I think what this shows me is like, we now know what kind of Hudson's ideal, at least based off this small sample. I got to keep saying this is a small sample. It's 322 minutes. Like, this is not a multi-year sample or anything. It's just 1 year of Hudson and Struble. But a defenseman that plays a similar calm, safer game like Jayden Struble, it works very well with Lane Hutson, and you can see, right? So it's not Struble himself necessarily. It's like someone like him. And I think that just goes to show how good of an impact, not only offensively could he have, but even he could be on a good defensive pairing. Because I want to remind you that, again, Hudson Struble, this is hard to see, I apologize, but if you look at expected goals against, they gave up the fewest of any D pairing on Montreal that played at least 150 minutes. They also gave up the fewest expected goals against per 60. Lane Hutson was on the best defensive pairing and best offensive pairing of the season. So again, there's that defensive upside with him too. But right now I'm going to run a poll in chat. And because I'm really curious where people think he's going to come in. Because again, we're seeing these team-friendly deals, not just in Montreal. We're seeing some around the league, like the Jackson Blake one in Carolina. I don't know if you can consider that team-friendly. It's a bit risky by Carolina, but also, he could have gotten more if he just waited like a year, maybe even 6 months. So it's like, there's some really interesting stuff going on. Let's just see what this is going to come in at. How much will Lane Hutson's next contract be? And you know what? I'm not even going to put like, assume 8 years, whatever. Because like, it could be a bridge deal. I think we just assume long term. And Jesse, maybe I'll throw it to you. Like, again, I think we want him sub 10. I think we're going to come in somewhere between 10 and 11. I think 10.5 fits well. Him and Dobson, 20 mil combined. I think that's where we settle. It's less than the projection. It's like closer in line with someone like a Makar, Werenski, Fox, and less than that Dahlin percentage. I think I'm okay with that. If we start pushing 11.5, 12, I start to worry. But I think if he gets that much, he will have shown that he is maybe somehow even better this year before Montreal's willing to shell that out,
Yeah, I'd love somewhere between a 9.5 to a 10. I'm still kind of holding out hope for that. I just feel like Lane Hutson is kind of a team first type of guy. I know sometimes parents can actually play a little bit of a factor in all of this. We know he comes from a big hockey family. He's kind of one of the earliest of that generation from him there. So really determined to see how that kind of factors out. But again, getting to the point of like, who's the ideal defenseman, like, to go along with Hutson, like, I just feel the fact that like he is going to get paid at that 9.5, to maybe 10.5 type of range fairly quite easily, is that like, for me, guys like Matheson now, like those type of contracts, now we need to be much more efficient with that. Like if we're giving Hutson a contract as soon as the summer, obviously that's not kicking in right away, but we really need to be efficient with those third pairing going forward just because the cap's going up. Hughes isn't going to be a position to just kind of be throwing money around too willy-nilly, because we see that like Struble, a guy that plays a really simple, straightforward, effective game, is really the best type of guy to go with a Lane Hutson, who is on like your first pairing. Like Lane Hutson is the first pairing defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. For me, I have him pegged in with Carrier on that first pairing. I think that for me, that makes the most sense given Hudson's style of play and given who we have. And then I have Guhle, I have Dobson. Like as I have it right now, like Matheson is a third pairing. And then we're going to get into this even more in just a second. Then battling like Struble, Xhekaj. And that's just, again, tip of the iceberg on all that kind of going forward here. So again, I just don't feel like if we're giving out Hutson, like he absolutely deserves it. But again, that's going to be a lot to play Matheson on a third pairing, giving who we know probably would work best with Hutson on that first pairing.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's actually a really good guess. Like, a Carrier makes sense with Hutson, because I think we've all kind of just assumed Guhle Dobson makes so much sense, it almost hurts. It's like I cannot wait to see that, right? Like, two mobile guys, one a little more offensive oriented, one a little more defensive oriented, but both can show flashes on both ends. Like, it just makes sense to be that minute eating pair, while Lane Hutson mans your PP1 and can also just go out there and dominate the game every single time he's out there. Like, it just makes sense. The guy like Carrier, who's a bit of a safer guy, who's also mobile, who controls the game very well and very rarely makes mistakes, is the perfect complement. Is it a bit of a smaller pairing? Sure. But you also have a massive pairing right behind them with like 6'3", 6'4", Guhle and Dobson. So it's like really interesting. And I know we'll get into the third pairing in just a second, because look, if Struble worked well with Hutson, I think he could work well with a Matheson type player as well. But we're going to end the poll right here, because put up a poll. Are we saying so? I don't think anyone would vote for less than 9.5. Though 26% actually voted less than 9.5 million. Unless that was interpreted as greater than 9.5. But anyway, it is less than 9.5. 26%. 26% of people think that he's going to make less than Noah Dobson. That's kind of crazy. But 66%, Jesse, the overwhelming majority here, said between 9.5 and 10.5. And I think that's about right. And no one said greater than 11.5. Sorry, I put less than 11.5 million. That one was my fault. I botched it. I messed up the 11.5 mil. The first one, the 9.5 was right. The 11.5 wasn't. Regardless, the overwhelming majority between 9.5 and 10.5, and I think I'd be happy with that. And I want to take a look through the chat here about people talking about this, because no, we got lane train emojis. That's right, to Joker. Come on, guys, hit like. This is the best Habs. Well, thank you so much. Hey, we're getting close to 100 likes. Thank you guys for tuning in. If Hugo can sign him under 10 million, or even like Dobson, you take that and run. Absolutely. And Mark Orr saying Reinbacher plays great D and is a better skater than Struble. Even if it is not this season, he is Hudson's long-term partner. Sly Rider saying totally agree. And DeJoke is saying Hudson deserves over 10. We'll probably get just under that. Wishful, he signs a team-friendly deal at 8.5. A guy can dream. Hey, you never know. But I tend to agree also with Mark, Jesse, that like Reinbacher is kind of that guy that seems to project as the longer-term fit for Lane Hutson, but things aren't certain. We still don't really know what Reinbacher is going to look like at the next level, because the guy has only played a total of 34 games in North America, including the playoffs, since coming over at the end of the 23-24 season. So I tend to agree there, but right now in the short term, I mean, Struble or even a Carrier, like we didn't really see much of Hudson Carrier. The thing is, we're spoiled with choices for Hudson. I think he can work with almost any of them.
That's really the next wave, though, and look at what an amazing top four that is. And I think like whether Hudson could end up pairing with Reinbacher or even potentially Dobson, I'd say like optically right off the bat, because Reinbacher leans a little bit more to being a more all-around guy than Dobson, I'd say yes. Like Hudson, Hudson, Reinbacher, absolutely. And then Guhle, Dobson, like that is a beautiful top four to really build around your team. I think a lot of the forwards on the Montreal Canadiens will be really happy, and that might be a really great way of attracting, again, some great free agent targets in terms of forwards there, because they know they're going to be getting some first passes from this decor going forward and really setting them up in pace. So yeah, it's amazing how this is really kind of shaking up. And again, like Reinbacher is going to start making some waves. Like there's a world where he comes in, there's an injury. And again, even with like the stacked decor as it is, like we're talking about Struble, signing, but again, he's in the gym putting his work because he knows how precarious this whole situation is. Because I mean, there's a way that Reinbacher gets in the lineup this year, and they get to the playoffs, and he just doesn't give it up. And Reinbacher is just in our starting lineup going into the playoffs. Even part of me, Josh, like hate to say it, like I would potentially really like that. And again, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves with Reinbacher. We want to develop at the right time. But if like he's showing and he's ready, even that spot that Struble just kind of signed for, that could be up in the air very soon as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we got to get into this Struble stuff now, because I mean this is the biggest question. This is the serious question that we're referring to when we're looking at this stream here. It's like, what do you do in the decor? Well, it's not about what Montreal does. They've already taken care of that, thankfully. It's about what do these guys do, right? We've signed the guys. Now it's up to them to figure out where to play. And again, like the contracts of Xhekaj and Struble are both, and Reinbacher, I guess, are all small enough that you could bury them in the AHL if you need to. And when I say bury, it's not like negative connotation. Well, maybe some of it, but it's not to bury them in the system. It's more just like, if you send them down to the AHL, their contract would get eaten up by the AHL and not count against Montreal's cap hit. At least most of it. I think almost all of both of their contracts. I think you can go up to like 1.2 or something million that you can bury. But regardless, and there's waivers too. I think they're both still waiver exempt, but I'm actually not totally sure. That's something probably should check. But regardless, like we're talking Reinbacher, right? And there's no doubt that this guy is a long-term fit for Montreal. We drafted him 5th overall. We got to see a full season of development, but all signs are pointing to this guy being an unbelievable two-way puck-moving defenseman that is at least going to be a nice second-pairing guy. Is he going to be that long-term first-pairing anchor right-hand D? Maybe, but even if he's not, we have Noah Dobson. So like there's less pressure almost now on Reinbacher, at least for the next 8 years, to be that guy. But to be that solid presence is exactly what we want out of him. But Jesse, when it comes down to this training camp, like, I love this deal. I still wonder how it went to arbitration. I know we were talking probably term, like maybe Montreal's camp wanted 1 year and Struble's camp wanted 2 or 3, and then they eventually settled at 2 years and basically Xhekaj's contract, which is good. Again, for the advanced metrics is good, but it just like, I wonder, how do you weigh the impact that Struble had in the minutes that he played? Because really, the only defenseman that he played over 150 minutes with was Hutson last year. He didn't have, like, he hardly had any kind of sample size with other partners, which we don't really know how he's going to work as well with those other partners. And, like, his point production's fine, similar to Arber Xhekaj. How do you value, then, the advanced analytics that paint Struble as a really, really solid guy in the physical play versus Arber Xhekaj's, I guess not really even really intangibles, but the physicality and that turning point he brought to that playoff series, because it's really going to come down to those two things. They're similar roles, but not the same. They play better with different styles. Like, Struble would be a better partner for Matheson in my mind than Xhekaj, but I have a hard time saying Xhekaj should be out of the lineup, and then we still don't even know what Reinbacher's going to be doing. I feel like I'm doing loops in my head, man. Like, it's a crazy situation right now.
Yeah, again, there's lots of things to like in both Xhekaj and Struble's game. Again, for me, that, like necessitates a Matheson trade here, not because he's not a good defenseman, but just because of the fit here, because Matheson, even though I'm not his biggest fan, I don't think he's a third pairing defenseman. No. Like, I think he could be very well served as a second pairing defenseman somewhere in the National Hockey. It's better for him. It's better for the team that he's on and for the value, again, and the money going forward, because as I'm looking at it right now, Mattheson's on like that third pairing. Like, I see 4 guys battling for one job. I see obviously Struble, Xhekaj, but again, there's also Reinbacher is going to be ready to go soon too, and like Engstrom as well. Like, we need to talk about this guy. It's a two-way guy. He's got a lot of value. Other teams around the league are going to see it. We're going to need to start giving him his reps like he deserves. So again, like a Matheson trade really frees up those maybe third pairing type where like, okay, Xhekaj and Struble can kind of hold it down. There's an injury, makes it a little bit more manageable with kind of, you know, Reinbacher and or kind of an Engstrom coming up from me at that point. But again, it's just too much of a bottleneck at that specific position. Again, would be amazing if we can, again, package Matheson as part of this 2C combination. But it's, for me, it just frees up so many things going forward. There's lots of things I like from Struble and Xhekaj, you know, both in here. But as it's looking for me, they're going to have to be battling it out when really these are 2 players that deserve to really be in the NHL, let alone, you know, a David Reinbacher who's going to come knocking, you know, sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I tend to agree with you, because again, like, it's not just, if Matheson was signed for like 5 years, I think this would be a lot more complicated, but like, he's an expiring deal. Like, part of me still wonders, like, for all that we hear about how Montreal, like, really, really likes him, the guy's a minute eater. Jeff Gorton was nothing but complimentary about Mike Matheson. Like, there might still be nights where maybe Matheson plays more than Guhle or something, right? Like, I don't think that's crazy. That happened a lot this past year. Would I like to see it? I mean, look, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how the season shakes out. Odds are, no, I wouldn't want to see that. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, Yeah, Guhle would be better suited for a third pairing, but come on, he's not a third pairing defenseman. Like, we know he's not. He hasn't been since the day he stepped foot in the NHL. The guy barely makes mistakes, and he has great offensive upside, fantastic skater. So it's like, we have 5 defensemen that all on a lot of teams could play first pairing style minutes, could play 22 minutes a night. Like, Lane Hutson has played 22 minutes a night. He played almost 23 this past year. Noah Dobson is a minute eater as well. Kaiden Guhle has played over 20 minutes, especially when there's an injury. The guy is a workhorse. He can be out there for 25 if you need him. Mike Matheson, he's done it almost every night this past year. Alex Carrier, when he was paired with Matheson on certain nights, he was out there logging over 20 minutes. He was playing some PK. And so then it's like, you have all of these guys who are so versatile. You only have so many minutes to go around. And I think you're absolutely right in the sense, Jesse, like, you can't just have all these guys. Like, you start to, try and play maybe Matheson 17, 18 minutes a night, but then he's not as effective because, like, he's not going to get many great opportunities. Then again, maybe a Matheson that's going up out against third pairing defenseman on the other team is just going to stick handle around them like he did in that Devils game, like, which goes end to end, like something crazy. But I feel like it's not the best role for him. And again, like, Struble, Xhekaj are those more prototypical third pairing guys, and Struble, Xhekaj is a pair I would hate to go up against in the playoffs if I'm another team. I would hate that more than maybe the offensive threat of a Mike Matheson on a fourth pairing, because again, or third pairing, because then he'd be out there probably not with your first line. So there's question marks around that. But before we continue on this, because there's a lot of chats about this, I wanted to say shout out to Ivman for becoming a channel member. There's so much conversation we're having. Almost let it slip, but Ivman, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Love the support. Joseph saying welcome. What's up, says Dajoka. Eric saying more excited about Adam Engstrom these days, and Mark Orr saying he completely agrees. He'll be stealing a spot at camp in my book. Dajoka replying, Engstrom is kind of a dark horse. He could be a camp surprise, but it'd probably force Hughes to move players. And Ivman saying hit the like button. Oh, thank you so much, Ivman. 250 people. We're 20 likes away from 100. Thank you so much for being here. Let's hit that like button. You know how much we love it. It's one click and it helps us more than you can know. Seriously, one click actually helps us a lot. So thank you so much for watching. And there's a lot more comments. I wish I could get into all of these, but when we get into Adam Engstrom, Jesse, I don't have any fun graphics for Adam Engstrom. So instead, we're just going to watch Kent Hughes and Jayden Struble highlights, and then maybe some LJ Mooney. But and again, I think like this just sheds light on the defense situation. Engstrom looked so good. He was Laval's best defenseman in a couple of those playoff games, especially versus Rochester. He's more of an offensive guy, but has good defensive upside, smooth skater. And I think forcing management into decisions is maybe the best thing we could have at this point, Jesse. This rebuild is almost at the end. Like, you have assets that you could move. We're still at a point where we don't really know how they will fit long term. Another year of development is very important. As this year starts to progress, I think those answers will start to become a lot more evident, whether in training camp or a month or two into the season, as to, okay, I feel comfortable moving on from this guy because this guy's doing better. This guy on our team is actually doing better than we thought already, like Kirby Dach or something, so maybe we don't need to do X. And I think right now, over the next, I would say, like, into September, into October, we're going to start to see a lot of answers that I think will facilitate a lot and necessitate a lot of movement on this team.
Yeah, speaking of necessitation, like, really, it just shows like the logic and the genius behind the Mayu trade. It's again like we already have we have a logjam at D without the Mayu trade right now, especially with Engstrom coming up. And you have to feel like this is gonna need to be dealt with shortly. Like, it's great that Struble signed. I'm happy he plays simple, two-way, effective game, and you can kind of play, especially when you got a lot of offensive guys around. It's amazing to have a guy like Struble because you know what he's going to do. And it's nice having that predictability on the ice to kind of counterbalance that unpredictability that, of course, you get from a Hudson, from a Dobson, etc. Here going forward. So I think it is great, but there is guys like Engstrom. Like, we're right to talk about him in this situation. Like, we're not getting too ahead of ourselves. Like, we've seen him, you've seen him as well. Like, this guy is looking like a pro already. Like, not only is the skating there, which we know in today's modern, NHL, especially for defensemen, is so important, but like he looks like a pro. He's got so much poise out there. Just his decision making with the puck is just tremendous. He's also creative, right? So I think he's not only a guy that can really make the NHL, but again, probably surprise some guys again. Like, again, another offensive guy adding to already our stable of very offensive-minded defensemen. Again, I don't want to kick a dead horse. Probably necessitating even further what we need to do of kind of moves to kind of make room, I think, for those next waves. Because, like, Engstrom is a guy that I'm really excited about here going forward. And I think that a lot of Habs fans have a reason to be excited about him as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I love that because first of all, it shows how well educated, as always, our fans are and Habs fans in general are to know that like our AHL defenseman that has not played 1 second in the NHL is a legit dark horse to make the team. Like, that's incredible that we're talking about this anyway. But again, his performance for Laval this year, I mean, we highlighted him a lot too because like, yeah, we don't even need to highlight him. Like that preseason last year, like him and like Tyler Thorpe, like some of these guys were like, wow, like there's something really interesting here. I'm still interested in Tyler Thorpe. I don't think he's an NHL guy this year, but he'll get a full year in Laval, which is nice. They do 6'5" unicorn. That's what they call them because he has a good shot and he's big, whatever. So you can't have too many of them. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff there. Yeah, so put both on the left and right wing with real check-in line. Mark Orr saying, we need Arber to be our new David Savard, a calming, solid D-man who blocks shots and only fights when required. I don't remember the last time David Savard fought. I mean, he gets in scrums. I don't remember the last time he dropped the mitts, but I mean, what do you think of that take, Jesse, when we're talking about Arber? Because again, I think like it's about carving out that niche for yourself because, that solid, steady, big physical guy that can drop the mitts is never going to go by the wayside, especially if you can hold your own in terms of like not making that many mistakes on the ice. Like Arber did a lot better job this year. It's hard to take him out of the lineup because of just, that extra factor he has. But you also need to have these guys who are, solid players like Jayden Struble. Again, doesn't really make that many mistakes. He's a bit smaller, but maybe a bit more offensive upside. I think it's about these guys almost carving out the roles, right? Because like not everyone can be a star. It's about fit on that bottom pairing. What do you think about Xhekaj maybe focusing on a more defensive role? You think that's something he could do? Because I am never putting anything past a Xhekaj brother to do and evolve,
Nobody has yet fully claimed that spot here going forward. And that's going to be something interesting. Again, there's kind of a prototype and archetype that David Savard filled out. And that is important. And I've mentioned it in the past. I felt like Xhekaj, again, has a good chance to fill in that role because Struble's like, he lays some big fits, but he doesn't get in the scrums too much. In my opinion, you need a guy that's actually okay in the scrums and actually protecting in front of your net. Like the teams that do the best in the NHL, in the playoffs, think of Florida, like their gamesmanship is through the roof. They're trying to get in the other goalie's kitchen. They're trying to get in front of the net. And you need guys that can handle that. And again, it seems like it's one of the most underrated part of the games in terms of chemistry and just kind of asserting yourself on the ice. And again, like that's why Xhekaj is with the Montreal Canadiens. With all the competition we have, if he didn't have that element there, he would not be here. So he absolutely needs to lean into that going forward. He's done such a better job of knowing, again, to be that enforcer. And that's a much needed role, but not going over the top in terms of taking too many penalties. That being said, I think that the Habs will have some different options, but like ideally when the Habs are getting the playoffs, Xhekaj is on that pairing and he's now secured that spot. But we know the tons of competition, again, that are going to be there. And that's what's going to be interesting to follow this year is if he can do that. But I think he could really help the Habs in that way because you need that physical guy that's willing to drop the gubs. And I think, kind of that intimidation factor with the other team, I think it's huge. I don't see another player for me on the Habs. Like Cayden Guhle as well has that element. He's got a little bit of dog to his game as well. But again, not to that extent as Xhekaj. That's why I want to see him succeed because I think that's a much needed role. And I would just love to see him take ownership of that spot.
Yeah, like it's a needed thing sometimes to know like your teammate gets hit big, Arber Xhekaj's coming for you. Like it matters. Like and there's a difference between someone who like a Ryan Reeves. I don't mean to like crap on Ryan Reeves. Like he's a pro hockey player, but like a lot of the time when he was on the ice, it was a bit of a negative for his team. Not always, but a lot of the time. Whereas Arber Xhekaj, like it's not really at this point. Is his advanced metrics that great or is his production that great? No, but he's not like a huge negative asset. So having that guy that can do that is very important. Like you said, have that dog in you. Like Struble can do it a bit. Guhle can do it a bit. Our forward core, like I'm hoping Bolduc can do it a bit because there's not that many guys. Like Josh Anderson, I know can do it. Gallagher can get into it. He's probably not going to punch you in the face too many times. But like having that Xhekaj factor just matters so much. So anyway, it's a very good point. But yeah, and Joseph Donovan saying teams already wanted Arber and Kent said no. I remember that. Remember teams were reportedly offering up first for him and Kent said no. So it's very, very interesting. But like, look, Jesse, regardless, there's a lot of serious questions here for the Habs D-core and I'm excited to cover it all. Like this is just one of the steps and people are talking about Line in chat. I kind of want to bring him back. You know what? Any quick thoughts on that before we close out the stream? Jesse, any quick thoughts on bringing Line back? I'm seeing some people say, hey, a little 4-year, $5 million deal. I think I don't know. I think I don't want to sign him anything until we see it this season, but it really seems like he loves being here at the very least, and he seems like a fun guy. His teammates like him. He likes his teammates. I'm definitely not opposed to it at this point. I'm not part of the group that's saying trade him. I think a lot of people are maybe a bit harsh on and a bit of an injury-riddled season, but I think, look, if he shows that he's even capable of putting up like 25, 30 goals still this year, we've been starved for goal scoring for so long. I'm absolutely open to bringing him back. What do you think?
Yeah, he's going to have to prove it this year, but if he proves it, then we'll definitely go from there.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're 2 likes away from 100, by the way, so if you want to be the 100th like, you got to click like right now if you want to have that awesome honor. But thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to read through one last final thing to joke. A puck dangling skill, or, I'm talking about the Pasternak Slafkovsky thing. I'm hoping it was just some Slovak-Czech banter and nothing more than that, but regardless, Slafkovsky always talked about how he needed to be better, and Pasternak one time stole Slafkovsky's stick going to the bench and didn't let his team take it back. So anyway, that is what it is. Over 100 likes. Thank you guys so much. Jesse, any final words on this Monday, Jayden Struble signing day?
Thank you so much for the support. Obviously, we're kind of the clock's ticking closer to August. We're getting that much closer to training camps. I'll be like, it's getting here before you know it. Obviously, it's so much fun just having you there with us. Every step's a ride. There's just so much to be excited about in Montreal. So we appreciate you guys getting, showing that support for this team early on. We know there's going to be a lot of begging, a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon in the future. We're always going to remember those real ones right there from the beginning, really supporting this team when they need it the most. So really appreciate your support.
Really appreciate everyone. Thanks, Josh and Jesse. Says the joke, you guys are the best. No, you're the best. You guys are the best for making this possible. Also, our Rock Richard tier channel members, don't forget our Zoom call this Thursday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern as well. So it's going to be a fun one, but that'll do it for this live episode of Habs Digest. Thank you for being here, Mark. Or keep the show, keep the faith, and go Habs go. AI generated message. That's all right. It doesn't matter. Keep the faith. I like it. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream, but more importantly, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for that 25K mark. It's a bit far away, but you guys are helping us get closer every single day, and we really, really appreciate you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. Catch y'all in the next one.